On this week's episode of the Crushing Debt Podcast, the Crushing Debt No Spend Challenge. So welcome back to this week's episode of the Crushing Debt Podcast. My name is Shawn, owner and founder of Yesner Law, and welcome back your financial coach, George Corbello. How you doing, George?
No spend what? I don't know if I signed up for this one already, but I'm interested to hear what you have to say.
Yep, no spending. You can't spend anything.
My wife would love that. Probably save a little bit more money if that's the case. But
My wife has probably already failed at that task. She's probably already spent something.
It's another Friday. We have to spend money. I got to eat.
We have to spend money. So we mentioned a couple, I can't remember, it was either last week's episode or the episode before, about these no-spend challenges. And so I did a little bit of digging, and I found out more about what they are and how to run them. And so actually, we're going to put George on the spot. But I think,
what did I do? Go ahead.
But I think the goal of this week's episode is to create the Crushing Debt No Spend Challenge.
I like the idea. We always look for opportunities to, and again, challenge is a word. It's a challenge. Is it a kind of like a process kind of thing? What are we looking to do as part of this? But I think the idea of a no spend. I think it's more of just like controlled spending, right? Be more, because again, like I need to get gas. Like how I need to make sure if we're gonna do no spend, like I need to spend money on gas, right?
Well, so that's actually kind of the point of it. So it's when I first started looking at what a no spend challenge is, it's really just a freeze on spending money on things that are unnecessary.
Yeah.
So I know when we first brought it up, one of the jokes we made on the episode was, well, we just need to make sure we do it for a day and we fill up our gas tank the day before.
Right, yeah.
Or make sure we do it on a day where the rent or the mortgage payment isn't due. But that's not really the concept of the no spend, whatever we're going to call it.
Yep.
And I kind of like the word challenge only because I'm thinking there might be prizes at the end of this.
Okay, well, there you go.
So maybe some competition there.
What am I getting? I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so we'll talk about that as well. So basically, it's a freeze on spending money that are things are unnecessary. It's a freeze on spending things that are wants versus needs. So I think there needs to be some definition of what a want is or versus what a need is. And so, some of the expenses that I've seen that you would be allowed during this no spend period of time, you would be allowed to pay your mortgage or your rent. You'd be allowed to pay your utilities. You'd be allowed to pay insurance. You'd be allowed to pay bills. You'd be allowed to buy groceries with some exception there. You'd be allowed to buy gas. Anything that would constitute a necessity, you'd be able to buy.
Makes sense. So I look at it. Here's the generic. So food, water, clothing, and shelter.
Right.
All needs.
Now notice water. Because that's one of the things in some challenges that are not allowed. In other words, you might not be allowed to buy coffee.
Makes sense.
Or soda.
Okay.
Or beer or alcohol. It's the necessities. So you need water.
Yeah.
You don't need a Diet Coke.
Yeah. You don't need juices or any
Right.
of those kind of, or how about the drinks, the specialty drinks or anything like that. They're all desires. They're not necessities for us to survive. But again, that's going back to that definition itself of a want and a need. It's different. I know you and I probably have different desires, wants, different needs when it comes to those things as well. So everyone's going to have that different definition. So we just have to be very clear on what that definition is between, we know the necessities. Those are pretty straightforward, but is Netflix a necessity? Again, you got kids. We have, is it already a bill that is already built into the budget? Because if not, again, do I cancel for the month to say, I don't need it? I mean, you're right, I don't need it, but it's one of those kind of things that, I know my kids would probably have a revolt in the house.
But I think that's one of the other things we have to figure out here is how long is it going to be? Is it going to be a day?
Yep.
Here's some of the different time periods I've seen. It could be a day. It could be a week. It could be a weekend.
Yep.
And if it's the weekend, then you got to think, what are some free stuff that I can do on the weekend? Like going to the beach, going to the library. So, how long is it going to be? A week, a weekend, a month, a quarter,
I
a
would
year?
think. I would think. Well, year. Let's see. You're going crazy
Let's
now.
not get crazy.
Come
Yeah,
on.
let's not get nuts.
I mean, I still like my bourbon. It's just so that's not going to happen there. But I would say, the initial challenge itself, 7 days makes sense. Like a week just to kind of get a feel, especially with both of us. Kind of like, hey, we'll go through the exercise, test run this. A real challenge could be 30 days. Like, hey, month of July or the month of August, we're gonna do this for 30 days. We're gonna see how we go for the entire month itself, and track again, because a lot of it too is tracking what we're spending. So how we're gonna track those differences, how we're doing, what we're doing. When if there's a failure, is it a point system where it's like, oh, you were gonna make mistakes, like, oh, I had to spend because of this. And again, we're justifying I had to spend on a want.
Right. I had to spend on that bottle of bourbon because my wife was driving me crazy.
Right. Yeah. So, but that's going to cost you, 20 points, 5 points, whatever the point systems might be as part of that.
Well, and that's the other aspect to this as well, is what is the goal? And I guess the goal could be different depending on what you want to accomplish. So we could all be involved in this challenge, but all have different goals.
Yep.
So some of the goals that I've seen, you could save money, you could reset habits. So maybe one of the goals here is I do want to drink less,
right,
smoke less, exercise more. And so part of the no spend challenge would be, if I don't buy that bottle of whatever, not only am I saving money, but I'm resetting my habits. If I want to go out for a run instead of joining a gym,
yep,
I've saved money, but I found something free to make up for what I'm spending money on. It could be to pay off debt. You could say, I'm going to save up X amount of money, and that money is going to go to debt. Or it could be to invest. I'm going to save up X amount of money, and that money is going to be put in XYZ investment. So I think part of the goal, or part of the challenge, is going to be to determine what is your goal in that week that we do it, or that day, or that weekend, or however long the time period is. What do you want to accomplish?
No, that makes sense. And I think you're right. I mean, I'm in the midst of, saving for a home. So any extra money itself, throwing it towards the savings for the house and down payment and things, or even the stuff that we want for the home, those are, again, opportunities from that perspective. So that makes sense. That makes total sense.
Then we got to figure out how are we going to track our progress. There are a bajillion online tracking mechanisms for a no spend challenge. They're the thermometers where you fill in, I've saved up X amount of money.
Yep.
You could just do it on a piece of paper, on a notebook, on a whatever. So how do we track our progress?
Mm-hmm.
And then do we want to have prizes at the end? I mean, in addition to, even if somebody is able to save up $100, that in and of itself could be the quote prize.
Correct.
But do we want to chip in something?
Well, and I think we want incentive, right? So sometimes that extra incentive to say, yeah, I formed a new habit. Now I'm doing something different, or I've saved, or I've paid down. All of those things are specific goals to that individual. But why not throw a little bit more of incentive of saying, hey, here's a gift card, that can be thrown towards that particular goal.
Well,
or to celebrate that accomplishment as well. So that makes sense.
And I'm sure that I have friends of ours. I'm sure we both have friends of ours.
I do?
Partners.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you might.
I don't think my wife would do it. Don't spend on. No, you're on your own, buddy.
But maybe they can throw in some stuff that we could count as
Correct.
Quote prizes. And then the other thing that I thought was, do we want to call it bonus points? So, for example, you're going to track that I was able to save up X amount of dollars. But do we want to give bonus points, for example, for giving us a review of the podcast?
Ooh, I like it.
For becoming a Patreon subscriber? Do we want some of our patrons to be to get some extra points? Or maybe submitting a question for the show, submitting a testimonial to the show.
Well, even just tracking progress, because again, we want people to be participating. And a lot of times when we go through these types of challenges, it's okay to do it individually. But if we're challenging each other to I've seen this progress by this individual, and maybe I can do a little bit more as well because they're doing so much. Maybe I can do so much. So I think a lot of it too of hey, one post a day gets you a certain amount of points,
Right.
and if you're consistent with that, and it's not just like, hey, but it's like, here's my progress, or here's a recommendation, or great job, Shawn, for what you're doing and how you're progressing.
Maybe it's you get points for reporting your progress.
Yeah.
So every day of the week, you would make a post that says, "Today I did not spend X amount of dollars."
I like it.
Now, speaking of, I did set up a Facebook group. So the Facebook group is up and live now. I guess I got to figure out. Right now, it's a private group, so I got to figure out how to make it public to anybody that wants to join.
Yeah, they'll have to maybe ask to join
Right.
the group itself, so at least and then we can just let them in based off of that.
When I did it, the name of the group was I think the Become Debt Free group or something,
Sure.
and it was around the launch of the second book. But honestly, that group really hasn't had any activity. It's just kind of sitting there dormant. So I renamed the group. So you can find the group on Facebook. It's called the Crushing Debt Spending Challenge. At least that's the name as we're recording it right now.
Sounds good.
It's the Crushing Debt Spending Challenge. So if you want to find that group, send us an invite. If you're listening, we'll admit you into the group, and then that's probably going to be where we track everything,
Yeah.
where we support each other in this
Yeah.
no spend challenge. And so I guess the mechanics of it, what you would do, and this is something George and I were talking about prior to recording, if you want to participate in it, what you would do is you would say, well, I had to go to the grocery store today because we were out of eggs and milk.
Correct.
So I had to go to the store today, and I bought this and this and this and this that were necessities, and I picked up my prescriptions,
Yep.
and I did this and that. But I left on the shelf that bag of chips.
Yep.
And by leaving that bag of chips, because the bag of chips was not a necessity, I don't need to eat potato chips.
Right.
And the bag of chips would have cost me, whatever, $3. And so then what we got to figure out is, do we just want to track and say, okay, you saved the $3, or do we want to actually say, take $3 and physically put it in an envelope?
Well,
Put it in a savings account.
Yeah.
Do we want to do it that way?
I think if you want to see progress, it's good to be able to say, like, oh, I left the $3. I didn't spend $20 in extra where I didn't buy some of the junk food or the pleasure foods, that we have, or I didn't get the extra, thing that was on sale because I didn't need it, but it was on sale, so I wanted it. So I think that, but I think it would hold more weight if the individual did take the money that wasn't spent and put it somewhere else.
Okay.
Because you're still spending, again, you were going to spend it. You chose not to spend it as part of the challenge. But again, part of the exercise of growth or learning something is to kind of like, well, I was going to use it somewhere else, and now I'm saying I'm redirecting that fund instead of the kind of the what is it, the want. I'm now putting it into something that is a need for me, like, again, need for savings or need for paying out debt. So any of those two, but I think it's a great idea to track it because you're going to see something.
Yeah,
It's,
although
there's a actual physical thing that you're looking at.
yeah, I mean, I guess the thing that I wonder, just from a conversation's sake, what's to stop me from saying, well, I was going to buy that car, and because I didn't, I just saved myself $50,000.
Well,
I guess then I'd have to take $50,000.
you'd have to
and
take
put it into
$50,000. Yeah, I mean, hey, I didn't buy that, that car. Yeah, I agree. That Matchbox, I'll probably be in that way. Like I didn't spend the $2 for the Matchbox itself, but good for you. It's good that you can track that number, but it has a bigger impact of like, well, I took those $2 and now it's in an envelope or it's in the savings. We learn more from some of those types of actions and activities rather than, I wrote it down. Great. Here's a hypothetical number. But if you actually see, hey, I did that 4 or 5 times and there's $15 extra in the savings or in the envelope itself, it just holds more weight in regards to change.
Okay. So I think the way that we're going to run this is George and I will do it first.
Uh-oh.
We'll
The awkward laugh there.
We'll be your guinea pigs. However, if any of you are listening and you want to do it with us,
Yeah.
absolutely. We'll take anybody for this first round. We'll all try it. We'll all be the guinea pigs. So if you're interested, shoot us an email, try to join the Facebook group, the Crushing Debt Spending Challenge Facebook group. Shoot us an email. Get in touch with us in some way.
Yep.
This episode I think will come out on the June 29, I think, of 2023. So maybe we'll plan. Let's get through the 4th of July.
That's I was going to say July 5th.
Yeah.
Would be an ideal starting point because I kind of agree. I like hot dogs. I mean, there could be some good sacrifice there, but I would agree. I think July 5th might be a better starting point.
Okay, and I'll update the spending challenge group page.
Yep.
We'll update it. We'll put all the rules in there. We'll put some of the stuff that we're talking about in there. We'll put a start date in there. Maybe we'll make it an event. So what do we want? Do we want to do anything? And if so, what do we want to do for the people that do? Do we want to do the person that saved the most?
Yeah.
Do we want to do?
It's the easiest, but I think it's it's save the most or paid the most. It's really more again how many wants have we eliminated as part of the exercise. So again, it could be for every dollar saved from a want. That's a point. We could make it easy that way. Again, 1-to-1 ratio from that perspective. The more points you earn, and of course, I can get some extra points by posting. I can get extra points for engagement, for comments,
engagement in the group.
Leaving
us a review.
Correct.
If you subscribe to Patreon and you tell now,
That-
I guess so. Here's the irony of that statement: is subscribing to the Crushing Debt podcast on Patreon a want or a need?
Well, it's a need, because you need to get more information from this dynamic duo. But yes, I would say part of the challenge itself is you have to determine the necessities and the wants itself. Like I always say, like is Netflix a need or a want? Again, who you talk to in the household may have a different opinion in regards to that. I agree. You don't need the Netflix, subscription itself, but I think a lot of it has already been built in to a lot of our bills.
And again, I don't think we want to get to a point where we're telling somebody. I mean, certainly one of the ways
here's examples, right?
Yeah, one of the ways you can save money is by unsubscribing from subscriptions that cost you a lot of money.
Right.
But what we don't want to have, I mean, we want to be practical here as well.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying unsubscribe from Netflix because it's a want, and then when the challenge is over, resubscribe. that doesn't make any sense. I think maybe we could kind of put a overall rule on here that if you're already subscribed to Netflix, we're not going to say you lose points in the challenge by continuing with that subscription.
Correct.
Now, if you choose because of the challenge, I'm going to cancel this subscription, that subscription, the other subscription, then include that money.
Include the money in the savings. Correct. That's how I would look at it as well. And that's I would look at it, when you talk about subscriptions, because that's always a hot topic itself. I could probably, need maybe just Netflix just to have some form of entertainment. Do you actually need Hulu, Netflix, YouTube TV, all of the subscription services? So part of the, maybe subscription cleanup could be to say, yeah, you're right. I saved because I unsubscribed from HBO Max and YouTube, which saved me $60. There's $60 extra bucks that I can put into the savings. That's how I would look at it. It's the same thing as groceries. Well, this week again, I didn't do the potato chips. That saved me $3. $3 for chips. That's a small bag. Let's just let you know right now. Family bag is like $7 now.
Well,
but again, you can
Costco.
save.
Yeah, Costco would be.
It's still $7.
Yeah.
So, but you could say this month I forego that 4 times. And not only did I, maybe lose some weight as part of that, but I also saved $28. So I think that's how I would look at it. And again, put that $28 into the savings. Start to realize, a small change can have a huge impact in regards to the money that we have on a monthly basis. Yeah. We don't look at it. You're right. Coffee, coffee could be that. That's a necessity. I'm like, is it? But, once again, cutting it down gives you a little bit more opportunity to put it towards something else. Right. And I think that's what we're looking at.
So I guess what are we going to do? And I assume it wouldn't.
I already know what I could tell you. Some of my vices that I like. Yeah, I probably could save a lot of money if I stopped doing them.
Yeah, but do you want to put up something for the winner? For example,
absolutely.
should we get the winner a gift card?
Yeah.
Or
That's not us. I mean, again, we're trying. For us, I think, just bragging rights of
Yeah.
I saved more than Shawn. Yeah, I mean, I'll take that bragging right any day.
I was gonna say, I wonder, it might be easier for me because I'm not buying a house. But at the same time, I've got an 11-year-old and a now 9-year-old.
Exactly.
God, not Dad, I want that dessert. It's
Yeah.
gonna be really hard to say no.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. I think the challenge-wise, as fathers, might be different than maybe some of our younger listeners or some of the married listeners would. Again, it's a different dynamic, but I would agree. It'd be kind of curious between the both of us, like what would we kind of give up itself. I mean, I've got hobbies that are expensive in regards to collectibles versus video games, things like that. And again, I'm not 14, leave me alone. But again, not buying that for a month, like that could be that's a lot for me at least.
I don't know.
Bragging rights for us, that's one
bragging
thing.
rights for us.
For other folks, I would agree. 25, maybe a $50 gift card, could be a very enticing way to do that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Just little things like that for, again, the most saved, maybe, or most debt,
Well, we could convert it to points. So we could say you get 1 point for every dollar you save.
Correct.
Because then we can put additional points on if you leave a podcast review.
Correct.
If you join Patreon. If
Yep.
you do this, if you do that. But maybe we do a number of points, and we do the winner in terms of points gets, whatever. I'll put up a $25 gift card.
Yeah, same here. Yeah.
And so when do you want to start? My thought is,
Well, for us, I think July would be
I
July
think-
5th.
do you want to start it in the middle of the week?
Well, I mean, it doesn't matter which day, because again, even a first could be on a Wednesday or Monday, so it's fine in regards to Wednesday. We could do the 6th, in regards to when we drop the next with the podcast itself too. However, I don't think it matters in regards to day of the week, at least to my expectation. But I'll let the lawyer talk. Here.
Well, I was going to say, why don't we do this? Why don't you and I start? Let's start on Thursday, the 6th, the
You
day
got
that the next that an episode would come out.
Episode
We'll
drop.
start on the 6th.
That's fine.
We'll finish on the 12th, and then that way the episode that we record, 13 or 14, will be describing how it went
actual
for
experience.
us.
Yeah, that's fine.
And then again, if any of you want to join us, there's you got, or do you want to push it out to give listeners another week or two to sign up with us?
Well, I would say for the both of us, let's again, I'll challenge us a little bit, because a week, dude, 30 days. July, the month of July. Ooh, he smiled, a devious
Okay.
smile.
Okay.
Like I said, there's no failing. If we manage to still, track any type of wants that are purchased, we try. Again, it's just points we didn't earn. It's basically
Right.
what ends up happening from that perspective. But I would say, we can week to week at the beginning of the podcast. Hey, here's our progress. Here's how we're
Okay.
doing, and of course, you'll see it in the Facebook group as well. And then that gives enough folks to be able to hear, our progress, probably some funny stories and jokes that come along with that as well. And then, of course, come August, we can then maybe start it up and get the rest of the crew and the rest of the listeners into the group itself, so everybody's kind of comfortable and not there's no shame in this. We're gonna have fun with a lot of this, and really what we're trying to learn as part of this is the lessons, right?
Yeah.
Wants versus needs. How they are different between the both of us itself. How do we redirect some of the money towards some of the goals that we set? So the other thing we have to kind of discuss now is, what are the goals that we're looking to in this participation of this challenge? What are we looking to achieve?
Yeah.
What are some of the things that because they're going to be different from user to user, person to person. They're going to be all different.
I think for me, I think I'm good on. I don't think there's any habits that I necessarily need to reset.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm good there. I think for me, it'll just be good old fashioned. How much money can I save up by just being more aware of what I'm buying every week?
Makes sense.
Every day.
I'm in the same boat. I think habits-wise, new habits that are not maybe money related. So think of it like, if I don't go out, well, that means I might have to cook. Or
Yeah.
I might have to cook for my wife, so she doesn't, like, what? We're not doing what? So that's one thing. But finding certain things to do on the weekend, you're right. You know, like there's inexpensive things to do. Again, you still have to drive there. I get that, but that's that's more time than it is anything else.
Gas doesn't count.
I agree. That's a necessity
because you need gas to get around. But yeah, going to the beach instead of going to the library instead of going to the bookstore.
Right.
That kind of stuff. Okay.
Well, I would say go to the Causeway here in Florida because I think certain beaches you got to pay for parking. So you got again. There's things. Part of the challenge is going to make you think and be more intentional with your spending. That's the idea, because a lot of us, we just spend coffee and then lunch and then parking and then this and then buy those shoes. You don't realize by the end of the day you've probably spent $100 that you haven't accounted for. And that's part of this exercise is just to give you the habit of intentionally looking at your money, intentionally spending, so that we can maybe change some of the way you look at the way you spend your money.
Okay. So what we'll do is we'll go back. I'll post an update in the Facebook group. I'll probably, if you do get the emails, if you've signed up for the podcast and so you get the emails on the day the podcast is released, I'll probably do a blast email midweek to talk about the rules and when it's going to start. If you want to be part of the beta with me and George, absolutely, let's go for it.
Fun.
Let's have some fun with it. Yeah, the more the merrier.
We'll put some of our networking skills into effect and see if we can rope in some other business owners to kind of have fun with us.
Yeah, either business owners to have fun, maybe business owners to donate some stuff.
I like it.
Some prizes. So we'll see what we can come up with. But I guess, okay, it's set. We're going to start after the 4th of July.
Good idea.
We're gonna
I would have challenged us to say July 1st and then see what the heck we do on July 4th. But I think it's a reasonable request to say July 6th is a good starting point.
Hot dogs on the 4th of July, I think, are a necessity.
I think I still have them in the fridge, so I think we're okay.
Yeah, there you go. Although that was one of the interesting things I was reading on these challenges, that sometimes can be part of the challenge itself. In other words, if part of your challenge is part of your goal is I want to spend my money better on the necessities that I buy, some of the things the challenge was talking about is before the challenge starts, some other sites I was looking at about these types of challenges, before the challenge starts, you go through your refrigerator and you throw away all the
purge.
Yeah, you purge everything other than necessities.
Well, I would say eat it. So let's not throw away good food. But yeah, let's.
If you're interested,
let's consume.
Right. If you're interested in changing the habit,
yeah, that makes sense.
Let me go through and either eat or toss all the potato chips in the house, all the cookies in the house, that kind of stuff. Let me go and buy stuff that I can use to make lunch every day instead of going out to buy lunch every day.
Makes sense.
So that was one of the other things as well. But I guess I will.
I like it. Well, let me ask you a more serious question.
Sure.
Regular milk or almond milk?
So I can't eat cereal because it's way too sugary for me.
Yeah, no sugary. I gotcha.
And actually, so that's the other thing I got to do. Before July starts, I got to see what my supply of Baileys is. Typically in my coffee, I do. Let's call it creamer.
Yeah.
Sounds good. I won't say it's Bailey's, but what is creamer? I don't use milk or any of that in my coffee. My kids drink the almond milk. It's funny, they drink almond milk in their cereal, but when it's chocolate milk or that kind of stuff, they actually drink real milk.
Yeah. Okay.
So it was funny.
I'm just saying, it's just those are the things where you go, oh, wait a second, like we don't want to go that detailed. We individually we may go down that road where it's like, wait a second, do I really need this type of or this type? I'm saying, look, guys, groceries is groceries. If you're setting aside a budget that's realistic in regards to the things that you buy, as long as you stay within that particular budget, that's where we want you to be. The question then again is there opportunities to save on that set budget? Meaning, do I need the chips? Do I need, the almond milk? It's a legitimate question.
Yeah.
Is there opportunities to save? Like, hey, I saved $1 because I did this brand versus this brand.
Do I need do I need the orange juice? Do I need the apple juice, or can I get away with just water?
Exactly.
No,
so,
I totally get it.
Little things to think about, and this is to be honest with you, I think you and I, we're going to think about this as well as we approach the infamous start date, so that we can kind of figure out, like, holy cow, this might be a little bit more. I think it's going to be a little bit more difficult just based off of some of the things that we've kind of pre-programmed in us of, like, this is a need.
I think the first one might be a little bit difficult, but I'm actually looking forward to. Let's see how the first one goes.
Right.
We can tweak it from there.
Of course.
And probably make it, maybe we do these once a quarter. Maybe we do these every other month, just to try to challenge the listeners.
Have a new goal at that point.
Yeah.
Have, new listeners, because I'd imagine we are always, growing our listening, family as well. But also, for us, there could be always a different goal at that point.
Yeah.
It's for me, I know I'm going to get closer and be like, that house. So I know that particular.
Hey, is that new house a need or a want? Is it a necessity?
The
or is
type
it a
of
want?
house, I would say, is a stupid want. But yes, the no one needed, like, built-in vacuums. All right, so yeah, I would agree with you there. It's like, but you need the roof over the head. So for my wife, though, like, that kitchen, that was a want, my friend. You could not say it was I needed islands and certain surfaces and all that good stuff.
I don't know. If I were buying a house, if I were buying or building a house, I would need an outside grill area.
Oh,
an
no
outside
doubt.
Kitchen area.
Well, that
would be a need.
That was on the on my list as well, because I'd like to grill, and I like to just be outside. My wife would be like, no, he doesn't, but I like to be outside and smoke that cigar,
right,
and enjoying the beautiful, sometimes beautiful night Florida weather here.
Nice. Okay, well, I think we can kind of wrap it up.
No, I like it.
For this week's episode.
We're in trouble with this commitment that we have here, but I like it.
If you're interested, we are going to do a no-spend challenge for the entire month of July. George and I will beta test it. If you want to be involved, you're absolutely welcome to be involved with us. Either go and join the Crushing Debt Spending Challenge Facebook page, or shoot me an email, shoot George an email. Our contact information is in the notes. And yeah, we'll see how it goes in the month of July.
We're gonna have fun with it. There's, I think, a lot of I can see us with the stories of, like, whoopsies. There's a few of those, but at the same time, I think it's gonna be like, I wonder how our families are gonna react, and I think that's gonna be the interesting.
I think my family is gonna be my downfall in this. If I lose, it's
same here.
It's their fault.
Oh, are you kidding me? It's like, yeah, same here. It's like,
because even though my son just had his 9th birthday, he needs that new toy. Or my other son needs to go to the Pokemon store, or he needs to buy that upgrade for his iPad game.
No doubt, man. You have to. It's I would say the one thing that I would say, and here's a shameless plug. It's we need to spend money on the Crushing Debt book, and making sure, like, so that kind of benefits a lot of people there. But
we'll make some of that stuff, like the Patreon page. If you subscribe to the Patreon page, we'll give you points for that.
Absolutely.
So, or if you buy the book, I'll give you points for buying either the Crushing Debt book or the Become Debt Free book. So, I guess with that, my overriding goal in this challenge is probably going to be to have more money at the end of the challenge, rather than more challenge at the end of the money.
That sounds good. I like that, but shameless plug, and I love it.
Shameless plug, and I think we can end the episode right there. Many of you may have noticed, shout out to Mark Purvis. He is our editor. He's been having a couple of issues, which is why the last couple of episodes haven't really been edited with the intro or outro music. But we are working on that. But shout out to Mark if you want to reach out to him. Again, it's legacyspotlight.com if you want to preserve any of these stories. But other than that, I think we can put a bow on this week's episode, and we will talk to you in next week's episode of the Crushing Debt podcast.